rather than crying and complaining about where the Lord of the Mysteries reaction is and getting instantly banned, you can check out the pinned comment, join us on the stream, and we're most likely doing a stream where we watch Lord of the Mysteries. I just ask you not to ask when it's happening, or you're gonna get banned. But then again, those monkeys aren't even watching this part of the video. Let's check out this video. This is kind of an old one, but still supplementary cut content knowledge. Let's go.
We are guardians, but also a bunch of miserable wretches constantly fighting against dangers and madness.
There it is again.
Such a quote defines what it means to be a Beyonder, but for Klein, becoming one meant something a little bit different.
Thank you, Guilty Fish, for the prime. I think that this line is going to be very important in the upcoming episodes, as it is heavily hinting that old Neil most likely is going to die. I think that it could be a red herring. Maybe it's all a misdirection. But if there was a Beyonder that's going to go crazy and die, I think Neil right now is being set up in a really obvious way.
It was all part of his efforts to get back home. Still, choosing to do so wasn't easy, and gaining the rights to become one was even more difficult. We just didn't get to see it since the whole event which earned him that right was left out. There was a whole cutscene involving this guy and Klein's assistance in capturing him. Aside from this are the insane amounts of lore the anime simply can't include, so if you're curious to know more about different sequences, Roselle's diaries, Beyonder powers, or just grasp the story a little bit better, stick around as this will cover all of that.
But then where's my episode 3 cut content? Where's my episode 4 cut content? I know that AnyNews made another video explaining about what's going on, and he kind of did like a summary of what's happening behind the scenes. It's just unfortunate, you know, that we were not able to get weekly episode cut content.
Let's get started.
But before we get started, ad break? Ad break?
Episode 2.
No ad segue.
Beyonder, covering chapters 19 to 44 from volume 1 of the web novel.
What's a Beyonder?
With Klein now aware of all the risks associated with becoming a Beyonder, it was also important to know they weren't as powerful as he might imagine. Like, when it came to guns or any other ranged weapons, a low sequence Beyonder really wasn't any match for them.
He still hit though.
It was
Was this a coincidence then? Was this all just luck? I don't know, bro, as the feather wills.
There really wasn't any match for them. That being the case, it was yet another thing to consider when choosing to venture down this path of his. The main things to be wary of would always be the influence of the potion though, so as long as he didn't consume the wrong potion and took his time to grasp control of his powers, the risk of losing control himself would remain low. Why would Klein even bear all that risk in the first place though?
Cause you wanna go home? Cause Beyonder powers are supernatural shit?
Well, you gotta remember it was solely to find a way back home.
Yeah.
If he was ever gonna return to the life from which he came from, then Klein knew he needed to understand the essence of mysticism.
Bro's never going home.
Now, a key difference that leads to a major story shift in the novel is that even if Klein wanted to become a Beyonder right now, he wasn't allowed to since he still needed to prove himself. Whether that be by interpreting critical ancient documents or something else, his position mostly depended on the arrangements of the higher-ups. How then did Klein proceed to prove himself? Well, that's
like the
a
church
bit of
people.
Content we'll talk about later on in this video. For now, Dunn would go on to explain the responsibilities of all the other civilian staff members. These were the tasks Klein believed he would be responsible for as well, but
the boring
as it turns
shit.
out, Dunn had something else in mind. His only tasks were to find hints of the notebook's whereabouts and read all the literature in the armory. Next, Dunn would point out the large structure known as the Chaunis Gate, identifying it as a core component under every central cathedral in every major city.
This exists in every cathedral, huh? Okay, this Chaunis Gate, last episode too. Thank you, Blessed, for the prime, appreciate it. But this gate, bro, it's so odd. Don't open it unless it opens from within. In last episode, we had that doll, like that relic that's supposed to be like a misfortune thing, come out and like give us that like note, and the note had that symbol, the symbol that we constantly see whenever it's like Seer and Antigone is like related. Like, what the fuck? It exists in every cathedral though, huh? What a mysterious thing.
It was founded by the man who created the Nighthawks, and behind it lay potion formulas, magic materials, and even a holding ground for heretics,
important beyond this shit. Like, bro's name is literally Chanis. Like, some higher up, maybe it's like Pope Bishop Chanis.
Materials and even holding ground for heretics, mutants, cultists, or other nefarious people.
Okay.
The gate is always guarded by at least one formal Nighthawk member, and inside are 2 keepers provided by the church.
Oh, there's people inside? Really? Oh. What? Even when Klein was there?
Countless traps defended it as well, so under no circumstance was Klein to ever go beyond the Chanis gate.
Oh, what?
Inside were all.
So like, wait. That the last episode, then we literally had 2 Beyonders in there. That was like, all right, little mysterious puppet doll, do your thing. We won't mind.
Sorts of classified documents and records. Then in the basement were items known as sealed artifacts.
Ooh.
These were extraordinary tools that, if placed in the wrong hands, could cause immense destruction.
These sealed artifacts are very mysterious too. Also like graded in numbers, kind of like sequences for a Beyonder. There's a lot of similarities, right? The sealed artifacts like literally like are like powers like that's extracted from Beyonders or some shit. Like, what is up with this shit?
Cause immense destruction. Some even have certain living characteristics, and that could go to influence their surroundings, attempt to escape, or try something even worse. So, in a way, these sealed artifacts were kinda like SCPs.
Okay.
Anomalous type entities that needed to be strictly monitored and controlled.
Also powerful weapons sometimes for us.
These artifacts are also graded on a scale where, at the top, they were extremely dangerous and not to be talked about in any capacity, while anything lower could be used with specific limitations or basic care and moderation.
Wonder why they gave it a 0 grading here, because again, I think this mirrors the sequences for a Beyonder, and they try to keep that sequence 0 secret until the fucking English dub shit came out. Anyways.
The lowest grade was still considerably dangerous, but as long as it was used carefully, it could be brought out for operations that required 3 or more people. Now, to quickly know how dangerous an artifact was, one simply needed to look at the numbering. For the one in episode 3, this was 2-040. The Grade 2 sealed artifact number 40.
Not that
One
important.
would then mention a corrupted archbishop who lost control and stole one of the most dangerous artifacts the church had, but that's a story I'm sure will be mentioned later. Of the foreshadowing they did give though, it was received.
Chat, does Caucus is 2 times louder than the YouTube video or just me? What do you fucking want? Do you want me reacting to the goddamn fucking video, or do you want to watch the video? You want to hear his voice be louder than me? You can go watch the video yourself. This is a fucking reaction to a fucking video. What do you think needs to be louder when I'm trying to talk over what he's saying? Are you genuinely that fucking dumb?
Like a very ominous warning, since this was one of the artifacts they couldn't even keep records on. Everything about it needed to be passed on verbally. Never could it be written into words. It was after this that Klein.
Go back?
It was received like sure will be mentioned later. One of the most dangerous. Dunn would then mention a corrupted archbishop who lost control and stole one of the most dangerous artifacts the church had, but that's a story I'm sure will be mentioned later.
Whoa. Okay. Corrupted archbishop lost it. Okay, go.
Sealed artifact number 40. Dunn would then mention a corrupted archbishop who lost control and stole one of the most dangerous artifacts the church had, but that's a story I'm sure will be mentioned later.
Corrupted archbishop stole an artifact and just ran away. Alright, we'll see him in the future seasons, I guess. And then some foreshadowing here to remember.
Of the foreshadowing they did give, though, it was received like a.
Do you guys understand what cut content means? I'm genuinely confused on like why people are crying. Because cut content means to include the things that was not included in the donghua that existed in the source material. Like, I know that, you know, Lord of the Mysteries days, obviously a lot of the tourists show up, but there's the average intelligence of chat just like lowers every time, but it is shocking to me that like we're watching cut content. You're complaining about cut content. What are you doing here? Can you guys just go away?
Very ominous warning, since this was one of the artifacts they couldn't even keep records on. Everything about it needed.
I gotta be one of the few people that have to like tell people to fuck off and leave the stream. Like a part of me is like, I'm suffering from success and I'm happy the viewership is great, I'm grateful that my Twitch stream is popping off more than usual. But like at a certain point, I'm like, is this worth it? Is it worth my mental sanity to go down the shitter? Like, god fucking damn.
To be passed on verbally. Never could it be written into words. It was after this that Klein would be sent to see Neil, a once formal member of the Nighthawks no longer suitable to handle cases anymore.
Unc Neil.
He had refused to be a keeper of the Chana's Gate, so now he simply spent his days accompanied by his documents and records.
He's pretty much
Documents
retired.
Klein was sent to help him arrange here. This would first be after Dunn had given him his advance payment, since as someone who's seen his place, Dunn felt Klein needed an upgrade. He also needed to purchase a cane and
That's right.
suit too.
We need a better place to live.
Klein would turn to head to
Dunn
Old Neil's,
pimped us
but
out.
2 more times Dunn would interrupt him to remind him of something else. For protection, he needed to carry some demon hunting bullets, then for practice he was to go to the range and fire 30 regular bullets daily. The police owned their own underground shooting range, part of
Cool.
which could be used by the Nighthawks. So this was all part of making Klein ready for his next tasks. After this was a cutscene introducing the character Oriana, since she was the accountant who would give Klein his pay.
I don't think we've ever met her. All I remember is Roseanne. That's it.
How did she end up working for the Nighthawks? Well, that's a story not too different from Klein's. You see, it was 16 years ago that a serial killer was terrorizing the city,
Jack the Ripper?
butchering women in a series of gruesome murders that left them gutted.
Jack the Ripper!
Oriana was about to be
Not the lolly though from Fate. Jack the Ripper.
that killer's 6th victim, up until the Nighthawks had saved her.
Ooh.
As it turns out, this butcher was a Beyonder, and his numerous victims were all part of a sadistic ritual preparation for the devil.
Oh.
Well, Oriana was luckily spared from it, and it was ever since that she'd been working for the Nighthawks. It was while Oriana was sharing all that Klein would also be admiring the money he was given. As someone so absurdly passionate about it, Klein couldn't help but take in the money's magnificence.
Money!
He would also recount the figures imprinted on it, both of which were former monarchs.
I mean, it's nice to get a pain, you know, because, God, he gets spawned in as one of the poorest people in Tingen, and you're just living out of a fucking crack house.
There was Henry Augustus I, who Klein felt an indescribable closeness to.
Augustus. Have we heard this name? Maybe we have. Tudor is important. Solomon is important. Augustus is probably important. Yeah.
Then William Augustus,
Why did Klein feel a closeness?
figures imprinted on it, both of which were former monarchs. There was Henry Augustus I, who Klein felt an indescribable closeness to.
Indescribable closeness? What do you mean? Why? That connection's interesting.
Then William Augustus VI, the man responsible for freeing the Lowen Kingdom from the shadow.
Actually, this is William Augustus IV, because the I before the V means it's 4. If you want 6, you need V and then I.
Shackles of the old order. He had enabled his nation to regain its spot at the top.
Okay.
So, that was all the tidbits of lore from.
I need more Augustus lore. I want everything about the Augustus family. I want everything about the Tudor family. I want and how does Emperor Roselle fit into it? And then there's also something very mysterious about how Emperor Roselle gets assassinated. What happened? And why did he keep his diary in Chinese? Because no one could read it, right? But is there a coincidence that Klein, another Chinese person, migrates here and then is able to read it? I want more lore about the past. Like, fuck the present.
Prior to Klein's meeting with Neil, an encounter which would introduce the Emperor Roselle more.
Roselle!
When it came to his lost diaries, the reason so many copies existed was because many believed Roselle never actually died.
What?
They instead think he became a god himself, hidden from society but still worth worshipping.
I could see that. I could definitely see how he advanced to Sequence 0, became godhood, and is now chilling with the Evernight goddess somewhere. I don't know. Or like the Eternal Blazing Sun. Because again, my guess right now is these gods are Sequence 0 Beyonders, but they don't exist in the same realm that we live in. So is there another place for godhood? Is that where the spiritual world is? And then we talk about spirituality leaking from there. I would so be excited if Emperor Roselle is alive, is a god, doesn't exist here right now, and is chilling somewhere else, and maybe one day we can actually talk to him.
It was at all these cult rituals the Nighthawks would occasionally find Roselle's notebooks, leading to the ones Neil has in possession here. Now, the records Klein read were pretty much the same in the novel, but the one about the guy trapped in a deep darkness also mentioned he could approach reality on the day of the full moon every month. His entry about potions highlighted—
What? Truly a fascinating matter. A blue sky experimentation and a chance mistake made me discover the pathetic fellow lost and trapped in the deep darkness and amidst the storms. He can only approach the reality of this world on the day of the full moon every month, yet he is unable to translate his cries. He is lucky to have yet me. What? Wait, what? Bro, like met a dude in the sea and he can only... What does approach reality on the full moon even mean? What? Very vague, but Roselle made a friend on the sea, a seaman who can only assume his true potential on the full moon like it's a fucking Wolverine or some shit, like a werewolf.
Approach reality on the day of the full moon every month. His entry about potions highlighted the importance.
Why are my children so stupid? I repeated myself so many times to not be fooled by those charlatans. The key thing about potions is not about grasping them, but digesting them. It's not nothing about. He's not talking about his literal bloodborne children, right? He's probably talking about like the people that serves him that are beyonders that can't understand the acting principle. Is he actually talking about his blood children? Really? That's even funnier. The name of a potion is not solely symbolic at its core, but a concrete imagery and the key to digestion. Yeah. Acting principles. Set these principles and act according to the rules that you have set this, sequence name to be, and just digest.
Of acting, as well as the name of the potion being the key to digestion. The next entry came from 9 months later, and that was the news of an opposition forming against him.
Faceac from the north, an alliance opposing me. Uh-oh. They don't like the Emperor. Lowen from the east, Faceac from the north, Faina Potter from the south. My enemies have finally joined forces, but I have no fear. I will use facts to teach them that the generation of weapons and knowledge cannot be compensated by mere numbers and low-grade sequences. Besides, it's not as though I do not have subordinates. As for the higher grades, have they forgotten who I am? That's funny that he literally said lol in his own diary. Okay, well, I don't know. He apparently gets assassinated later, but maybe he ascends to godhood and disappears. Who knows? Why would they oppose the Emperor? Maybe he was not a good leader. I don't know. I know that he brought upon the industrial revolution here equivalent, right? Steam, machinery. There's something needs to be said about the god of steam and machinery, right? There is like 3 factions in Lowen that a lot of people worship: the Evernight Goddess, the Lord of Storms, and the god like steam and machinery and shit like that, right? I think that, dude. Okay, here we go. We have connected the commonality between Emperor Roselle's ability to usher in a steampunk revolution here, and the fact that there is a god of steam and machinery. Any news has hinted that he might not be dead, but ascended to godhood. What if he literally is the god of steam and machinery? I don't know. Apparently, basically my thought process is his tarot card sequence 0 is whatever that's associated with that god of steam and machinery, and now he's not even here anymore. I don't know. But there's a connection there. There's got to be a connection between the god of steam and machinery and what he has represented.
With the Faceac in the north, the Lowen from the east, and the Faina Potter in the south, all Roselle's enemies had joined together to fight him. Still, Roselle was confident.
Wonder what time period he's from and what kind of person he was. Because Klein is from China and he was like a office worker. Roselle don't know. And the fact that internet doesn't exist, like you know how what am I trying to say, the technological advancements is very limited here. Like, we have machines, engineering, robotics, but not to the extent of like AI and tech here, right? So I'm trying to think of like what time period he's from. Was his knowledge limited from what he could be inspired from his own world, trying to bring it to this world?
He would come out on top, mentioning something about higher grade sequences. His next entry was about losing communication with a ship seeking the forsaken land of the gods.
Whoa. Forsaken land of gods? So like, there's like a, is that where the Evernight goddess is? Is that where the Blazing Sun god is? Okay, there's Forsaken land of God, a different territory. I should consider inventing wireless telegraphs. I hope it would not be affected by the storm. We're talking about like communication, right? Like telephone, like the ability to send instant messages and communicate. Forsaken land of God. That sounds crazy.
Then the one after was about a woman named Ithaca who he seemed to like more than Florena.
Okay.
That last one wasn't really that important, but
What?
all the others bore priceless
wait, what?
in Land of the Gods. Then the one after was about a woman named Ithaca who he seemed to like more than Florena.
Ithaca got a bigger ass than Florena, I guess. Okay.
That last one wasn't really that important, but all the others bore priceless information.
Bro be writing the most random bullshit in his diary, bro. Dear diary, today I clapped a woman with an ass so big that it could be mistaken for a bakery. Thank God I'm an emperor.
Klein could take advantage of. Digesting and acting were extremely significant, then this Forsaken Land of the Gods seemed quite important too.
Forsaken land of the
It was
gods.
when Klein was brought back to reality that his inquiry for more entries led to quite the interesting revelation. You see, with not many Beyonder-related incidents happening any-
By the way, I just want to let you know in chat, because I know that most of you are actually fucking really stupid. But when a spoiler happens, let's just for the sake of conversation, let's just assume Annie is spoiled there with the land of the gods. Do you think you typing in all caps and crying, saying spoiler this, spoiler that, is gonna help or not? Just think about that for a second. You are basically giving a confirmation that something spoiler did happen, and now you're giving me your attention and awareness of it. If you just shut the fuck up and just moved on with it, I wouldn't even question and I'd probably forget about it. Like, it's that simple. You don't have to say anything. You acknowledging that it is something bad makes it even worse. Like, just can you just watch? Can you genuinely just shut the fuck up and just watch? Or get the fuck out of here if you don't like this?
anymore. There haven't been many opportunities to procure these types of resources. Potions were becoming more and more scarce since, over the past few centuries, the monsters required to make them have become more just records and books. What I mean is that you'd be hard-pressed to find dragons, giants, elves, or even sea folk anywhere.
Hey, shoutouts to Rising Hero. Why is that? The Beyonders are getting weaker and weaker. Well, I'm sure it all adds into this whole notion that the church, the 7 Orthodox gods, have formed an alliance, right? Like, and they are the ones that want to keep all the power, and they don't want stronger Beyonders out there, thus hiding the acting principle, and therefore, in consequence, having less of these mythical creatures and stuff that you can just like farm materials from.
This led to some jokes about creating the Fantastic Beasts Protection Association, then proceeded into the matter about getting bullets for his revolver.
Okay.
It's here where the anime starts to really branch off, since rather than segue immediately into Klein becoming a Beyonder himself, he instead leaves, runs into Leonard, who Klein quickly perceives as a little bit gay.
A little bit? He feels and sounds so gay. I don't know if that's little, anyways.
Then goes home to settle all his household affairs first. There was an interesting line where Leonard makes a random comment seemingly to no one, but that was just an action Klein didn't look very much into.
Did you manage to notice anything? Indeed, there's nothing special about him. Leonard's a mystery, man. He's a fun character because you never know if he actually is the real deal or not. Like, you genuinely never know if this guy is hiding a super secret. Like, what if he's a god in disguise? You know? What if he says that he's got secrets, bro? Bro thinks he's a fucking main character. Like what if he is, though? That's the funnest thing about him. You never know. In the future, what if?
Now, it was right before Klein would leave the Nighthawks that he would first have a deeper conversation with Roseanne. The whole thing essentially fleshed out her, since Klein was asking questions pertaining to Beyonders while she was doing everything she could to convince him not to become one. Since her father was an unfortunate casualty of it,
Rip.
this whole realm of mystery was an area she disagreed with wholeheartedly.
Smartasses.
It was a sentiment backed by some rather wise words from her father. 2 weeks before he had sacrificed himself, he had mentioned how one should never think they can resolve hidden risks or combat by simply becoming more powerful or a higher sequence.
It is a shortcut that makes you get greedier and in turn will make you just crash out. That's the tricky thing about this, and it's also a very fun balancing act. Because if it's just as simple, become a higher beyonder, man. Just get higher sequences, drink the potions. Nah, that in turn will fuck you up.
To him, it was actually quite the opposite. In the end, death and insanity were the only two outcomes, and that was a fact which proved true for him especially.
It's so tricky.
That's when Klein would insist he only wanted to know the basics, so after a bit of pushing, Roseanne would finally cave for him. She would reveal high sequence beyonders were going extinct. There were only about 30 or so beyonders in their entire city to begin with, but when it came to those who were really high up there, very few were still around anywhere these days. Then, for the beyonders who were around, most were only at sequence 9.
Why is
Roseanne then
that?
spoke about the path the Church of the Evernight Goddess held full possession of, identifying their sequence 9 as the Sleepless.
Yeah.
This was someone who didn't need to sleep at night. It's not like they didn't sleep at all, but unlike a normal person, they could get by with only 3 to 4 hours of it during the day.
That's pretty cool,
Their
actually.
other powers were the ability to see through darkness without any lights, an increase in power the deeper into the night it was, enhanced strength, intuition, and mental capacity
Buffs at
when it
night.
was night, then an innate ability to detect unknown dangers that lay in the dark.
Does that mean the eternal blazing god, like whatever pathway that one of those he might have, they get buffs during like the daylight, you know, just like we're getting buffs at nighttime?
They weren't so strong as to possess any supernatural abilities though, so in order to fight monsters, they still relied on bullets or other means.
Yeah.
After that was the sequence 8 Midnight Poet, then
Ooh.
beyond that was the sequence 7 Nightmare.
Nightmare's crazy.
These were the sequences Leonard and Dunn were at, and Dunn was one of only 2 sequence 7s in the entire city.
That's fucking crazy. Again, the number of beyonders. I bet a sequence 7 was nothing back in the day. The age of like mythos and wars, right? We're talking like 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st epic. This shit is just nerfed. We're a bunch of like Goo Goo Gaga babies now. The church crippled the powers and took it all away. I think that I have a very negative perspective of the church because of how they're represented in most shows. That they're hiding stuff and that they're the ones that want to be in power. But what if this is a good thing, right? Rather than thinking about how the church is evil and hiding secrets, what if this is for the sake of the people? That beyonder powers are too dangerous and you can't let any random idiot just have it and just cause like, you know, calamity upon the world. So it's in the 7 Orthodox gods' best interest to all unite and make sure that we have some sort of accord of like, all right, we can't let these idiots like do this anymore, okay? We need to limit the amount of beyonders and we need to curate a specific type of beyonder that we can maintain and control. That also makes a lot of sense. That's a very generous way of looking at the church though.
That was all Roseanne knew for that path, so Klein would then ask about more of the other sequence 9s. He was looking for whichever allowed him to study and grasp more knowledge. If he could somehow end up on a path like that, then he figured he could leverage that to find a way back to his old life. Unfortunately, the only one Roseanne could recall was Mystery Prior, then an incomplete sequence 7 title by the name of Spirit Medium. This would be all the information Klein could get, leading to his departure and eventful journey back home.
Bye, Roseanne. Night night.
It's here we get into quite a bit of cut content too, but the topics it deals with aren't entirely important. There was Klein's stop to purchase the cheapest yet most practical cane he could find.
Okay.
A review of
That was a very funny chibi episodes where the person thought Klein was broke and she was being so hostile. Then Klein pulled out some bills and they're like, oh my god, what can we get you?
the Lowen Kingdom's regulation on firearms and weapon permits, a brief moment practicing the draw of his gun over and over, then the reveal of his new job as a consultant to Melissa. Klein
Lies.
wanted to go out to eat to
Lies.
celebrate, but Melissa insisted he save his money instead.
So
She
smart.
was even against moving out too, since to her, their living conditions weren't as bad as they could be.
She's honestly so level-headed and mature for her age. Rather than complaining about their living circumstances, thinking about saving money and not being a burden to others.
This then led to a whole chapter of Klein trying to convince Melissa otherwise, citing reasons like societal expectations and marriages. Melissa was still way more concerned with financial stability, so this was a conversation the two would have to have later.
It's alright, your big bro is now making bills, don't worry Melissa. These are the essential slice of life stuff I think is required to get you to care about these characters. Without it, it's hard for you to get emotionally attached to them.
For now, Klein would have to deal with other matters, specifically the job interview which he now needed to withdraw from. This brings us to a scene in the university and is actually the place where we first meet Isaac.
Isaac
That, however,
Eggers!
is a scene from episode 3, so we can leave that one for later. What comes next is probably the most important cut content so far, since it's a sequence of events earning Klein his spot as a Beyonder. The whole arc is 4 chapters total though, so unfortunately this will be a very basic rundown of it.
Okay.
Just remember, Klein doesn't get to be a Beyonder just because he wants to. It's a position he first had to work for. As for the way he had earned it, well, in the novel, it was because of how he handled the man who was following him here. Turns out he went beyond just stalking him on the street and even went so far as to break into Klein's house.
This guy... Was he Aurora Order stuff associated with the clown? Because obviously we have Leonard and Nighthawk people, you know, watching over too, right? But this is Aurora Order? Secret Order, sorry, Secret Order, yeah. That actually makes this guy even more hype, because Secret Order is like Zeratul stuff, Antigona stuff, like Seer Pathway stuff. They are really mysterious.
He had done so at a time when Klein was asleep, but thanks to a timely warning from Dunn in his dreams, Klein was able to wake up and force the man out. Leonard and Dunn then took care of things from there, revealing the man to be part of an ancient organization known as the Secret Order.
Yeah.
An underground group.
That symbol, man. That symbol, man. Okay, just take a note of the symbol. Remember the symbols.
Known as the Secret Order. An underground group established in the 4th Epoch and
Ooh.
related to the Solomon Empire.
Solomon mentioned, bro. 4th, what, go back?
An underground group established in the 4th Epoch and related to the
That's
Solomon
right.
Empire.
4th. It's epic though, right? I call it epic instead of epoch. And then Zeratul is the founder, and his goal is to master the Seer Pathway, inspiration from Antigona's family. The symbol though, it's important.
It was from them that the Antigonus notebook had originated,
Antigonus!
and it was only due to their negligence that it was lost.
Or was it the Feather's will?
So it was this man who was tasked with retrieving it, unfortunately leading to his capture here.
Okay.
Now, normally the Secret Order was very difficult to deal with, so the fact Klein was able to assist with the capture of one of its members, well, that was a contribution worth rewarding. It's because of this that Dunn would present him with an offer very few were given.
He earned it.
He could either continue accumulating merit and wait to qualify.
Like again, what is the sequence of coincidences happening? It is how the world seems to want Klein to become a seer and advance the sequences, right? Everything. Now, we know what's happening, we don't know why. The why is all tinfoil theories at this point, but clearly the Feather or even the Antigona's Diary seems to have a mind of its own, and everything is trying to push Klein into a position of going to Hornassus, advance the sequence, bro, become a better Seer Pathway. So all of these events, it's all set up. Like it's hard for me to believe that everything is a coincidence, like just set up like that. But if you really think about it, everything has been perfectly just like crafted. It's like perfectly assisting. It's like guiding Klein into this like specific path.
If you were given, he could either continue accumulating merit and wait to qualify as a worthy member of the fully complete Sleepless Path, or become a Beyonder now and choose one of the Sequence 9s from the 3 other incomplete paths they.
And then he hears Seer Marauder Apprentice from Emperor Rozel's diary. That sequence of events is also integral, if not the most important thing in Klein picking the Seer Pathway. All of this shit is just way too egregious for me to say it's a coincidence, right? It just feels perfect. It's all planned out. So you telling me that like Emperor Rozel writing the fucking diary was also planned out? Maybe, maybe not, but I think there's something really fucked up about how Emperor Rozel's language is Mandarin, and Klein is able to read the Mandarin. So the transmigration, it absolutely has to do with the whole C word, the coincidences.
Had. The first was the previously mentioned mystery prior.
Like at this point, okay. What is the best way to do a mindfuck in a show? Remember what I told you. Time travel plus memory loss or memory obscurance, where people like remember stuff later on. We just had that with Takopi. We've had that with Steins Gate. We've had that with Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan literally is to you in whatever year, right? So if we think about this, rather than thinking bottom up, let's think top down, as in someone in the future has planned this shit to happen in the past and Klein has simply just forgotten the memories. Like Klein himself, I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know, but just think about that for a second.
And that originated from a strictly confidential group known as the Moses Ascetic Order.
Oh,
They were a strong-willed order centered
that's right. These are like the no-fap November people. They are the anti-gooners. They do not want anything hedonistic pleasure. Strip that away. Be monks. Zen.
around the maxim, do as you wish, but do no harm. Their Sequence 9 potion granted a rudimentary understanding of anything magic related, so that included witchcraft, astrology, and any other mystical knowledge.
Cool.
Mystery priors also became knowledgeable in a great deal of magic rituals, but that opened the door to the ability to sense certain existences they maybe shouldn't.
Evil
Beings
gods.
hidden amongst matter they'd have to be careful around.
Evil gods.
Next was the Corpse Collector, and this gave anyone who digested it the same properties an undead would have. Unintelligent dead spirits would mistake them as one of their own. They would gain resistance to the cold, decay, and corrosiveness of deathly auras, then they would be able to see evil spirits and the characteristics or weaknesses of undead.
Shoutouts to
So
Dali.
this was a path the church actually had the Sequence 8 and 7 potions to as well. One you might recognize as Daly's spirit medium.
Simone.
Finally, there was the seer path.
We need more of Dali Simone, bro. She's so talented, though. She's never around. I want to ask her for help, but she's too busy doing her thing. I don't know. Let her do her thing, I guess.
Finally, there was the seer path, and consuming this potion granted a greater understanding of astromancy, cartomancy, spiritual pendulums, and scrying.
Okay.
That didn't mean he'd understand all of.
Why would this be so dangerous, though? Why would this be so eerie, right? What did they say about the seer pathway? They talk about it as if this is a terrifying sequence, right? What is terrifying about seeing stuff? Now, I've been thinking really hard about the last episode and how Klein was able to basically deduce Doomsday from happening. Isn't that a great thing? Isn't it amazing that because of Klein's seer pathway powers, that he was able to predict, not really predict, but understand that like something bad's gonna happen, an evil god, the true creator is about to descend, and we can prevent this from happening? That's great. That's amazing. Here's another schizo theory that I don't think is likely, but it's kind of fun to think about. Imagine that like the ability to predict and see things is not necessarily predicting things, but more of like you manifested that destiny. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you think you're seeing shit into the future and these calamity events, but actually these things would have never happened if you did not see it. I don't think that really makes sense though.
Them immediately, but it did grant him the ability to learn it. It was a path not necessarily suited for fighting, but in terms of knowledge and mysticism, it was far better than the mystery prior. The only setbacks were the incomplete nature of the path itself.
By design, Evernight Goddess destroyed that shit. And now the secrets of that pathway exist probably only within the secret order. Klein gotta join the secret order, man. He gotta join that shit.
Its inability to be used in combat well, the risk of losing control as a Beyonder, then the overall believability of Roselle's diaries. As stressful as such a choice was though, all that was incomparable to the terrible feeling of not being able to return to Earth again. You see, after recalling all these fond memories of his past life, Klein knew the only right path was the one forward. It was one only achievable by becoming a Beyonder. Fast forward past a couple chapters of Klein choosing his new house, moving out, then moving in, and that's when we finally get back to the Blackthorn Security Company. Klein would express his intent to become a seer, stating how the other pathways just didn't meet his requirements. Now, when I said taking the potion would only give Klein the ability to learn about mysticism, what I meant was that there would be 3 places from which the knowledge he was seeking would come from.
Okay.
The first was experimentation, summarization, and enhancements. The second would be from the gods themselves, then the third the dangerous murmurings and illusory enticements Beyonders were occasionally exposed to.
The crazy voices.
There were sometimes cases where these mysterious voices would describe matters related to mysticism.
Yeah, like Hornassus Phlegraea. Right? And that changed recently too. Now it's like the main quest lines changed because now we know that there's like a secret treasure, some sort of like important object, you know, at the top of fucking Hornassus Peak, and we're thinking about how dangerous that's gonna be.
Should one try to listen to those voices for a bit too long though, there was no doubt they'd eventually go mad, fall to corruption, then become monsters. It's for those who do unfortunately meet that fate that it's their notebooks that are usually filled with all sorts of valuable information. In any case, Klein taking this potion didn't make him a formal member of the Beyonder team. He was still to be a civilian staff member, simply because it would take time to adapt to whatever power he develops. I mean, to go out and take part in paranormal missions right from the get-go, well, that would mean certain death for sure.
We're support, don't worry.
To building the potion itself, for sequences of 7 and below, those typically didn't require anything other than the exact ingredients.
Okay.
Where beyond that, one might have to participate in the ritual on a spiritual level. For 7, 8, and 9, one simply needed to follow the formula and mix it.
Like we might have to start killing people. Like we need to like sacrifice an entire like nation of people to make a potion.
In fact, not all the ingredients even needed to be exact, as for the seer potion in particular, it was only the last 2 that
What if there's some like Mangaku Sharingan kind of thing where you have to kill your like loved one? You gotta kill your closest friend, you gotta kill your like loved one. It's a very fucked up tragic requirement.
Needed precise measurements. They could be slightly under by just a little bit, but if they were ever too much, then anything from a mental breakdown to death could happen.
God, you better be fucking careful with the measuring, you know, tools for this. Apparently the order of operations also matters in how you add the ingredients. If it says ingredient A, C, and then B, you can't do A, B, C. And then it gets all fucked up.
So it's those last 2 ingredients that were put in with great precision, and
Careful.
It was once finished that Klein would proceed to ingest it.
Careful!
The anime does a great job animating the entire process of it, but for those wondering why he needed to envision what he did, it was also he could stabilize his mind and gain control again.
Yeah, this is weird. We saw space, astronauts, Klein was like aura farming on top of some sort of like nuke missile. Because Neil said, think about something that doesn't like exist here or some shit.
By focusing on something he knew, he was able to mitigate the potion's energy and reduce any seepage of it. Next, Neil taught him how to manage the physical manifestation of the potion's powers, and this was through a method called cogitation.
Okay.
It was a meditative state that converged the potion's powers inward.
Think.
It was while in this state that Klein would be able to see and understand the truth, revealing knowledge only he himself could understand.
The Fool.
It was a unique phenomenon classified as a mystic experience.
Why was he given the Fool? This is episode 1 shit. Remember that Beast Tamer? The fraudulent tarot card reader? And the interesting thing about the Fool is that the denomination, the number associated with also 0, which is obviously hinting at sequence 0. Fool, stuff like that, which I probably should have mentioned in that theory video I made. But why is he specifically the Fool already? Before even being a seer, he's not even a Beyonder yet. It's as if his prerequisite traits are already hinting that this is him. The association with the tarot cards and the pathways of Beyonders is also very fascinating, because apparently Rizal fucking created a tarot card too. Like, what the fuck?
Could understand. It was a unique phenomenon classified as a mystic experience, something only possible while in this state of cogitation. Neil would then teach Klein Spirit Vision, one of the most foundational abilities for pretty much any Beyonder.
Tap tap?
It was a mystical power that would allow him to perceive supernatural and non-physical phenomena. It wasn't a power one developed naturally, though, but was instead something he would have to train.
Great ability for someone like Klein, who has to scam people without any knowledge of his own.
So, first Neil would have him discover his aura, one of 4 non-physical parts split from a person's biological body. Aura was part of a person's ether body, and that reflected a person's physical health and emotion.
Okay.
On the deepest inner part was a person's soul body, and that referred to their spiritual core.
Ether body, soul
Beyond
body.
that was the astral projection, and that was a person's spiritual connection to the cosmos.
Okay.
It was the part most commonly used for divinations and spellcasting.
What does that mean, though? A person's connection to the cosmos, like space and shit. Why is our mysterious palace, the world above the gray fog, seemingly in space too? And there's like these red constellations that Klein interacts with. This theme of space, stars, constellations, like it's all there.
Cosmos. It was the part most commonly used for divinations and spellcasting. Finally, there was the body of heart and mind, and that was the connection to one's brain and mental capacity. For potions that improved one's analysis and observation, this would be the area it would typically target. So, for now, Klein would be focused on aura, where every color he would see would indicate something different.
Got it?
This applied to the astral projection level as well, meaning Klein should be able to easily read how a person was feeling too.
Could Klein sense that someone is going to be receding their hairline pretty soon? Like balding somehow with these colors? Maybe we would see dark thinning colors on a person's scalp.
Finally, he would see inanimate objects didn't emit spiritual traces like organic ones, but materials from extraordinary
Thank you, Rainer Mime, with the prime. Appreciate it.
beings did. Though the creature it came from was dead, some of their leftover parts still carried what's called remnant spiritualities. They were typically the parts most crucial to potion making. Now, I
Go back. Go back.
know from was dead, some of their leftover extraordinary beings did. Though the creature it came from was dead, some
Go back more.
he would see inanimate objects didn't emit spiritual traces like organic ones, but materials from extraordinary beings did. Though the creature it came from was dead, some of their leftover parts still carried what's called remnant spiritualities. They were typically the parts most crucial to potion making.
The brain. Remember, there's some sort of like brain matter that we saw in Klein's visions last episode. Remember that? There was like, I don't know what it's trying to tell us. I thought it was like an ingredient important for that shit, but there was brain matter that was very important that they're trying to show us.
Now, I know episode 2 still has that whole part with Leonard and Klein, but considering how far behind I am and the isolated nature of that specific incident, I
Yeah.
might skip ahead to focus on the incident with the clown.
Motherfucker skipped 5 episodes after this.
I will try my best to keep making timely videos for this, but there's just
And then he went and made a bunch of Overlord videos, bro. But you know what? Like, I get it, right? I think he talks about this also in the other video about the YouTube algorithm. It's not a good idea to keep pumping out content when your audience don't care about it. That's why I think he was focusing more on Overlord and more other topical news.
so much content it's hard to keep up with it. That said, I could skip ahead to the current episode, or I could stay where we're at and remain 4 episodes behind.
All right.
Either way, I should be able to keep it going weekly alongside the Overlord videos.
Thank you, Annie
You
News.
just might see a gap from like episode 3 to episode 7.
And that's what happened. He called it.
But anyway, if you liked what you saw, then
Thank you so much, Annie News, for the well thought out summary and missing information. I think that what's really interesting to me is the land of the Forsaken Gods. Yo, what is up with that, man? The land of the Forsaken Gods that, Emperor Rosal was talking about, as well as another being that apparently can only be himself once every full moon. Emperor Rosal met a friend on sea who apparently has some werewolf traits. I don't know. As well as the existence of a mad archbishop that stole a really important relic and just disappeared. The thought that maybe Emperor Rosal never actually died, but achieved godhood and has left the mortal planes of existence to wherever the fucking gods live. I don't know, man. And then a bunch of other stuff that I think that we go back and think about, were these just simple, incidences that obviously leads into the whole coincidence episode of Who is determining all this? Is this fate? Is this just coincidences? I think that there is another person or multiple people that is puppeteer things from the shadows to make sure that Klein ascends the seer pathway sequences. Please check out Annie News. Here's a link to the video. I know this is an old one, but hey, better late than never. Link to the video. Go give it a like. Check out his other content like this. I'll see you next time.